Welcome to Worldview Matters, discussing controversial issues, discerning current events, defending biblical Christianity. No topic off limits. And now, here's your host, David Fiorazo.
Hey friends, family in Christ, thank you so much for tuning in. There's a brand new book out with a very provocative title that we're going to talk about today called Stealth: Kamala Harris's Communist Roots. It's by our guest today, Trevor Loudon. He's back with us, but I want to talk to you about some friends who've been giving to this ministry. A donation came in. Now these friends have become monthly donors. Thank you so much, Nate and Christina from Green Bay. God bless you guys for your ongoing support. And we've heard from California, Louisiana, Minnesota, Kentucky, Missouri, North Dakota, Tennessee, Maryland, Canada, and Michigan. Did I say Florida? Yes. And Ohio recently. Thank you guys so very much. God bless you. You keep us going. And God, of course, is moving this whole thing. So Trevor Loudon is back with us. I want to give you the website, trevorloudon.com. Another website we want to tell you about is KeyWiki. That's KeyWiki. And you can go to the page on Amazon where his brand new book, and I'm talking about hot off the presses. How about that? Stealth: Kamala Harris Communist Roots. And he's done the research and can back it up. And I pray this book gets out there. We're so short on time because the big election is coming up and the media is completely covering for this candidate. Trevor Loudon, thank you so much for your time again, and welcome to Worldview Matters, brother.
Look, it's always a pleasure. Thanks for having me on, David, and thanks to all the viewers.
Yep. Praise God for you, your research, your writing, and this book. A lot of people won't believe it. They're going to say, oh my goodness, what? Sure, she's a communist, because they know nothing about her background. And isn't it interesting? It's similar to when a young man named Barack Obama was running for the very first time, a senator from Illinois. Nobody knew about his radical Marxist roots and his background, black liberation theology, and so much more. Would you care to comment, is there any comparison in what we're seeing the media do with Kamala Harris, just as they did with Barack Obama?
Yeah, they're absolutely covering for her, just as they did with Barack Obama. And interestingly, but the same people that gave us Barack Obama, the same Maoist pro-Chinese communists, are the same people behind Kamala Harris and Stacey Abrams in Georgia and Andrew Gillum in Florida and Senator Cory Booker from New Jersey. So this is a Maoist clique that has a lot of influence in the media, a lot of influence in business, a lot of influence in the legal profession, and they are just doing everything to shut any research into this woman's background, to basically scam her into the White House. That's why I call the book Stealth. This is a stealth installation of a communist in the White House by suppressing and not exposing the information that would prove to millions of American voters that indeed Kamala Harris is a communist, just like President Trump says.
So, Trevor, something that might be confusing to a lot of Americans, not a lot, maybe some, the fact that, okay, we understand the media is liberal. We understand that. They've been, since I've got some research here that came out from the 1970s onward, surveys have constantly demonstrated that journalists, and I know today you have to put them in air quotes, journalists are much more to the left or liberal than the rest of America. And then there's some stats that go along with that. Why do people still believe the media? Why do people still not do their due diligence and try to research and get more facts on people running for such an important position as representing the United States of America as president?
Well, in the 1930s, millions of good Germans supported Adolf Hitler because of propaganda, which idolized the man and hid his faults, hid his crimes. Millions of Soviets loved Stalin. They didn't know about the gulags. They weren't told about these things because of mass propaganda. So America is somehow immune to mass propaganda, is it? We have a very monopolized media in the United States. You used to have lots and lots of independent radio stations, lots and lots of independent newspapers. I think 6 corporations now own 90% of what Americans hear in the media. And many of those corporations are deeply in bed with communist China because they want the Chinese market, so they are willing to promote Chinese messages or not promote messages that may damage China's interest. And China is absolutely behind getting Kamala Harris into the White House, and Tim Walz, by the way.
Yeah, isn't it interesting that she was, I think, when she was running in the primary, she was like number 17, and she had the least support, and she was the most unpopular. Isn't it interesting that she was selected after Biden decided, okay, I'm not going to run for president anymore. I'll still run the country, right? Like Biden's running the country. But isn't it interesting they propped her up possibly because of exactly what you're talking about, because of her loyalty to China?
Yeah, well, look, I was saying in 2018 that Kamala Harris would be on the Democratic ticket in 2020. And when she ran, and because I read their stuff, okay, and when she ran, she failed. She was terrible. But what happened was Bernie Sanders was getting away. He was going to win the Democratic primary. And he's a communist, just like she is, but he's from a different faction. He's not of the pro-China faction.
Okay.
So the only way they could stop Bernie was to use Joe Biden. He was the only one still standing. He'd lost 4 primaries in a row. But what the left did, they prevailed upon Jim Clyburn, the black congressman from South Carolina, to endorse Biden in the South Carolina primary and get the South Carolina Democrat, the black vote out for Biden. So that got Biden ahead of Bernie. Then all the other candidates dropped out, and it was only Biden versus Bernie, and Biden won. But the deal, I believe, was that Kamala had to be the VP candidate. Mm-hmm. She had to be on the ticket because the same people that gave us, as I said, the same Marxists, the same Maoists that gave us Barack Obama were the people 100% behind Kamala. They were backing her since she was DA in San Francisco. They got her every political position she's got, and they got her on the VP ticket, and they want to get her into the White House now to finish the job that Barack Obama and Joe Biden started.
And what's very concerning and should be alarming to freedom-loving Americans is the fact that they're really close to accomplishing their mission, and it might just be one election. I know we hear this election is the most important election of our life. Well, it is. This one is, because America could be affected forever, depending on the outcome of this election in just a few weeks. Now, the description over at Amazon on your book, Stealth, it says, Trevor Loudon illustrates a network of communist affiliations that have propelled her career. And you have detailed in the past her activities when she previously ran, and also a lifelong pattern of support for, involvement with communists and revolutionary causes. Trevor, why don't more people see or understand, or even maybe they don't care? Is apathy a big issue with the American electorate?
Look, if people understood that Kamala Harris is as radical as Hugo Chavez or Fidel Castro, there's no way she would ever get elected. But that's very similar to many American Congress members. I write my books exposing them too. But the media leans to the left, and they hate conservatives, and they will cover for even communists.
Yeah.
So the people don't know. Yeah, the people don't know that both Kamala Harris's parents were bona fide Marxists, heavy Marxists. They belonged to a group that set up the Black Panther Party, which was a pro-China, pro-North Korea outfit. She went to a far left-wing social club every Thursday night called the Rainbow Sign, all through grade school. When your kids were going to Boy Scouts or whatever, she was going to a Marxist social club. We're listening to Marxist poets. Most young American radicals, if they're going to be radical, they become communists in college. Well, no, she became communist in the cradle. She's never been anything but a Maoist. And that's why I think she has so much trouble in interviews, because Marxism is her first language, and she has to translate everything she hears into American. And she thinks in Marxist terms, but she's got to talk American, which is why she talks around in circles all the time.
Yeah, and she gets away with not answering questions and not really revealing her policy positions, even though those of us who pay attention and have been, observing what's going on, we know. Back to the media, Trevor, it's a problem in this country when there's so much influence or so much power under one party, or I should say one ideology, meaning the left. You've got the deep state, you've got the corporations, you've got Hollywood, you've got the education system, the whole from K through 12 and the universities. And the
kindergarten.
Go ahead.
Kindergarten.
Yeah, exactly. So we shouldn't be surprised that there's so much ignorance about this. But it's so the media, they don't have to fight too hard to cover this up. People just aren't hearing much truth unless you follow conservative outlets. But Jeff, could you put the cover of the book back up? I really want people to see this. I really want people to understand. We've got to get this out. It's on Amazon right now. We've got weeks to hopefully try to inform more people. Stealth, Kamala Harris, Communist Roots, TrevorLoudon.com. Trevor, what do you think of debates? Because the media is usually they're almost always against the Republican candidate. And my personal opinion is it doesn't affect anybody's vote. Maybe it does. A handful of people. What are your thoughts on debates?
Well, no, I think they have an impact, but they're always stacked against conservatives. There's no question about that. Because, a conservative will come on a liberal station and debate, but the liberal will never go on a conservative station and debate. And so, we saw the debate. Kamala Harris was allowed to lie and lie and lie, but they only fact-check Trump.
Yep.
And inaccurately at that. And it wasn't quite as bad with Waltz and Vance, but, it's not I want to see the conservatives be much more aggressive. I think Vance, he could have basically called Tim Waltz a Chinese agent and brought out the proof to prove it. But I think his goal was just to appear very moderate and, and very sane and rational. And he did a great job at that. But, we need to be calling Waltz and Harris out for dangerous pro-Chinese Marxists who will finish the republic. Because if Americans understood that, there would be no question. Most Democrats, grassroots Democrats, would not vote for their candidate if they knew what they were. They still think they're voting for Harry Truman and JFK, unfortunately.
So we're going to take a brief pause with Trevor Loudon. Again, friends, go to TrevorLoudon.com or on Amazon and get a copy of Stealth. And we'll be right back on Worldview Matters to talk about more.
Today's show is brought to you by Harbinger's Daily, world news biblically understood. Stay informed at harbingersdaily.com.
Introducing Patriot Mobile, the wireless carrier that stands with you. We are committed to supporting the values that make our nation great. With affordable plans and reliable nationwide coverage, Patriot Mobile is not just a wireless service. It's a call to action for those who believe in the American dream.
Get free activation now with promo code DAVID. Friends, we're growing thanks to God under his sovereignty and, of course, thanks to you. You can follow us on Rumble if you haven't yet. And also, you can download the free Freedom Project Media app on your iPhone. Trevor Loudon is our guest. Very important book, Stealth, exposing Kamala Harris because the media refuses to. And Trevor, let's go back and talk about the church now. We talked about the other institutions in America that are powered by the left, but you did a documentary a couple years ago, Enemies Within, the church. And in your book, you talk about every year, millions of young Americans are indoctrinated by stealth Marxist teachers and professors. And then in the very next paragraph, every Sunday, millions of American Christians attend stealth Marxist or woke churches. And that's what a lot of us who are Bible-believing Christians have a hard time. It's not that we don't believe it, but it's disheartening that even in the churches, you're supposed to understand the Word of God, and here you are going woke and having an issue here, enemies within. So tell us a little bit about that from that angle, where communism comes into play.
Well, and it is disheartening. You'd like to think that every Christian was fully believing and using discernment and working for a better America, working for a better society, putting God's words into action in their life. That's what you'd like to think.
Yeah.
But if you were a Marxist or you were the devil, would you not want to be inside God's church?
Oh my goodness. Yep.
What would you not? Look. It's Marxist what they crave, and the devil craves. Well, Marxists crave respectability, money, and influence. Now the church is a prime target. If you look at it from that point of view, the devil wants respectability, and he wants influence. What better insult to God than to be inside God's church, use God's church against God? But would the devil ignore that opportunity? If Christians are so weak and lacking a biblical worldview, wouldn't the devil get in there? Wouldn't the devil start corrupting pastors, start getting into Bible colleges? Wouldn't the communists start getting into Bible colleges? They've taken over virtually every secular university in the country. Why would they leave the Bible colleges alone? When they can co-opt the biggest conservative political force in the country, the evangelicals, the Southern Baptists, etc. You'd be a fool to think that they wouldn't try and get inside you. And wokeism is the proof. Wokeism is Marxism. It's a Maoist Chinese form of Marxism, but it's preached in pulpits across the country every Sunday, and in virtually every Bible college and seminary in the country is infected to some degree by wokeism, which is just a euphemism for Marxism.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for putting it so plainly. A lot of people have a hard time understanding what woke is. I didn't mention the website on KeyWiki free.
KeyWiki.org.
KeyWiki. KEYWIKI.org. What is that all about, Trevor, before we go on?
Well, that's sort of like a Wikipedia. It's my site. There's 167,000 files on there of politicians, woke churchmen, street-level radicals, academics, Marxists, revolutionaries. So it's like an encyclopedia of the US, British, Australian left. So you go in there, you put your Congress, if you live in Wisconsin, you put in Tammy Baldwin's name.
Oh my
and
goodness.
See how deeply she's been involved in Marxism. Supporting actual guerrillas that make their money selling cocaine to American children. If you live in Ohio, go look up Sherrod Brown's communist background. Or if you're in Washington State, look up Patty Murray, or Maria Cantwell. We've got 40 U.S. senators who couldn't pass a background check to drive a school bus.
Yeah.
We've got over 100 Congress members. So they're all in KeyWiki. Look up your local Congress member, see if we have an entry for them.
And then you can also go to trevorloudon.com and get to KeyWiki that way. But there's something that's a little confusing to me, Trevor. I see a picture of Pastor Cori Bush, and I know she was with the Black Lives Matter Global Network Foundation, raising the communist fist and protesting with them. She's pictured there. Pastor Cori Bush, I haven't heard that. Share a little bit more, because Kamala Harris is very supportive of BLM.
Well, Kamala Harris is the BLM candidate. She is best friends with the founder of BLM, Alicia Garza. And Americans need to understand, Black Lives Matter was run by supporters of the Chinese Communist Party based out of San Francisco, very closely linked to the Chinese consulate. So that's Kamala's people. But Corey Bush, nobody's ever been able to find the church that Corey Bush actually ran, but she calls herself a pastor. She called herself a pastor during the Ferguson riots. But this is the thing I say, respectability. You know, you want respectability. Now, I'll give you a great example. There's another pastor from St. Louis, Missouri called Michelle Higgins, and she spoke to a big InterVarsity convention in 2015. And thousands of young Midwestern Christians there. And she harangued them, Michelle Higgins, harangued them about their white privilege. Ending white privilege was their mission from God. It was the 11th commandment. On and on and on and on.
Wow.
Well, Michelle Higgins is part of the Organization for Black Struggle. That is their Maoist communist group that burnt Ferguson, Missouri to the ground in 2015.
Wow.
So these young white kids, you know, mainly white kids because it's the Midwest, are being guilted out about being white by a black Marxist as part of a pro-Chinese revolutionary group. But because she's a pastor, it's all, you know, she must be a Christian. She must be on our side. No, she's a revolutionary. She condoned the burning of a whole city. She works with pro-Chinese communists. So look, there are many Communist Party members who are pastors in this country. This Houston Communist Party has got 2 pastors in its ranks in the membership of the Houston Communist Party. This is not as rare as you might think it is.
Wow.
The communists have always worked to infiltrate the churches.
Yep.
And logically, it makes sense because people believe a pastor before they believe some street-level idiot waving a hammer and sickle flag in the town square. They might be saying the same thing, but people are going to believe the pastor if they put a little bit of Christian verbiage on it. They talk about God, they talk about Jesus, and then they tell you that Jesus was a socialist, and you believe them. But you wouldn't believe him if he was waving a red flag marching up your main street.
Yeah. Hey, Trevor, while we're kind of talking about BLM, let's go back to Minneapolis. And here we got the governor, Tim Walz, letting Minneapolis burn. And here we've got the woman running for president that was bailing out felons from Minneapolis jails. They're bailing out convicted felons and getting them back out on the streets. And they did it without scrutiny, much scrutiny at all, and accountability. And here we are. We've got 2 of the most radicals running for president and vice president. Go ahead and comment more on that.
Well, look, those riots were run by the Freedom Road Socialist Organization, a Maoist, openly pro-Chinese group. That was 100% a Chinese operation. Black Lives Matter is Chinese-controlled. The Freedom Road Socialist Organization, the George Floyd riots, was a Chinese operation. So Tim Walz, who's been to China more than 30 times, paid for by the Chinese government, in my opinion, almost certainly a co-opted Chinese agent, withheld the National Guard for 3 days in Minnesota while his friends, his Maoist communist friends, ransacked and looted that city. And I have on tape the leader of those riots, a Freedom Road Socialist Organization communist called Jess Sundin, talking about the joy they felt when they burnt Precinct 3 to the ground, that the looting, the anarchy, the arson, and the violence was an integral part of their movement. Integral. And this is the leadership. Kamala Harris got them out of jail. Tim Walz stopped the National Guard shutting them down. This was an example of Chinese agents wrecking an American city and burning cities all across America. Now they're both running for the White House. Can you believe that? And how could this happen if the media was doing its job?
Great question. Great question. And by the way, I've got in that media report that I've got 58% of Democrats believe the media and continue to support the media, but only 11% of Republicans trust the media. I think that's hilarious.
That tells you something about the IQ levels of each group, doesn't it? You know?
Yeah, that's funny.
And it tells you that Republicans tend to be more Christian and more discerning. Yeah. The discernment is the key word here. Yeah. You can be very, very smart and very, very stupid, or you can be just have good intelligence and discernment, and you'll get to the truth much quicker.
So, Trevor, I know we want to continue to lead people to your book on Amazon, Stealth, or on your website, trevorloudon.com. Stealth, Kamala Harris, Communist Roots. But just really quick, we've got 2.5 minutes left. Whatever happened to BLM and some of these protests? Are they waiting for the next? Now they're protesting, pro-Hamas on college campuses, but are they waiting for the next some sort of emergency or some sort of event to happen to be unleashed? What do you think?
Well, I think we may see them coming out this month. But if President Trump wins and if Christians come out in suitable numbers, he will win. We will see them come out on the streets the day after the election, right through that lame duck period. And so I'm telling people, get your medicines, get your food supplies, stock up, have a generator, because we're going to see a lot of disruption. I'm not telling people that to discourage them from voting.
Right.
The way through that is the way back to a free America. I'm just telling people these are pro-Chinese communists, just like the strikes we're seeing now on the coasts. Those unions are controlled by the Chinese folks. I've been warning about this for some time. This is a Chinese attack on America, just like the open borders, just like the tens of thousands of young military-aged Chinese nationals coming across the border. They're not coming here to go to Vegas. They're here to cause trouble, especially if Trump's elected.
Hey, Trevor, really quick, over on Amazon, I see that the Kindle edition is available. It's kind of short notice to get the paperback, but some people do want the paperback. Can they get that?
Look, they can get the paperback in 1 or 2 days by going through Amazon.
Okay.
Kindle straight away. It's also an audio. If they want an autograph copy, they can go to my website, trevorloudon.com. It'll take a couple of extra days, but you'll still get it within, from a couple of days after ordering the book.
Friends,
the quicker the better. You'll get it very quick from Amazon.
Friends, you will not hear these ties to Kamala Harris communist roots possibly anywhere else. You're not going to hear anything about what's in his book that's well-researched from the Marxist media. So trevorloudon.com. Brother, thank you again. It's always a blessing to have you on. I hope more people wake up, and we'll see what happens in November, right? God bless you.
Absolutely. Look, we got to win this, folks. So God bless, and thanks for having me on, David.
And you're most welcome. Well, Lord willing, we'll do this again. We'll be still a free republic to be able to do this again. God bless you, friends, and as always, keep speaking the truth about things that matter.